In every horror game, there always have to be deaths. No matter how fast you run or how much you pray, someone is gonna end up in pieces. And Sonic.EXE The Disaster is no exception. In fact, this game has corpses scattered around the maps like Halloween decorations. So, have you ever wondered, how did the deaths in Sonic.EXE happen? Were they quick and painless? Or a festival of suffering? In this video we'll analyze how Sonic's friends died and how much they suffered. Let's start with Amy. Amy finally got her own map in the saga, titled Not Perfect. And if the name already sounds like a warning, imagine how it all ended. Amy, with more dreams than common sense, believes she's finally getting her long-awaited date with Sonic. But here's a small problem. Her romantic date has more of a horror movie vibe than a rom-com. The first red flag that Amy probably ignored is that Sonic takes her to a place called the Special Zone. Amy, ever the optimist, thinks this is where Sonic will finally propose to her, but instead of rose, petals, and mariachis, what she finds is her final fate. And the curious part? She ended up killing herself with her own hammer. And the second red flag, which she now ignored on purpose, is when she realizes that Sonic isn't there to take selfies with her. He's there to turn her into puree. So how exactly did this happen? Amy, relying on her survival instinct, probably pulls out her hammer ready to deliver justice. But what she didn't expect is that Sonic always wins. Before Amy can even land her first hit, the hedgehog snatches the hammer from her and smashes it into her face with a force that would probably shock even the Hulk. And just like that, in a matter of seconds, Amy went from excited to flattened against her own hammer. And of course, she suffered quite a bit, as she most likely had to wait several minutes before finally dying. And well, I'm pretty sure what hurt Amy the most wasn't that fatal hammer blow. No, she probably didn't even feel that. But her heart? That was definitely shattered into pieces after trusting the blue hedgehog, who ended up sending her straight to heaven. Cream. Cream, the sweetest little bunny, appears in this saga only to die in the worst possible way. This would probably make even the toughest guy in the prison cry. And believe me, her death is so well remembered simply because of how brutal it was. She was just a little kid. Like Tails, she also experienced pure terror before dying. Imagine this. She's running for her life, her tiny heart racing, knowing she's about to meet her end. And suddenly, she realizes she's heading straight for a giant steel spike. And in her sheer panic, she couldn't even stop in time. Only God could have saved her. Her tragic end is both heartbreaking and painful. One of those massive spikes pierces her chest, going straight through her heart in a single blow. And just like that, in a matter of seconds, Cream went from being an adorable character to becoming a skewered snack. The only good thing? She probably died instantly and didn't feel as much pain as other characters. Tails. One of the most iconic characters in the saga, Tails. The first survivor to appear, and also the protagonist of one of the most horrific deaths in the game. From the moment we enter the map, we already get a spoiler of his fate. We see him crash his plane, causing a noise loud enough to wake the dead. But the question is, how the hell did it come to this? Well, here's my theory. Tails, being the good best friend he is, was probably looking for Sonic, but the problem is that the weather in this area is worse than your internet connection during a storm. Intense rain, lightning, wind strong enough to sweep you away. A total disaster. And here's where it gets interesting. What if a lightning bolt struck his plane directly? Yeah, imagine this scene. Tails flying calmly, trusting his skills, when suddenly, a lightning bolt decides his plane is a perfect target. With the engine failing and no way to stabilize, our genius little fox can only watch as the ground rushes towards him, ready to smash into his face. And this is where things get ugly. Imagine the sheer terror he must have felt. Knowing you're about to crash, no parachute, no chance to save your life. That has to be worse than just getting shot. In the end, the inevitable happens. the plane crashes into the ground at Green Hill. The impact is brutal. The cockpit glass shatters and pierces his head like a knife through gelatin. Did he die quickly? Yes. Did he suffer before dying? Oh, absolutely. In summary, poor Tails had the worst flight of his life. And to think that he's the smartest one in the group, but not even that saved them from becoming a tragic memory. Vanilla. Cream's mother didn't have a big role in the Cursed Hedgehogs game, but what she did have was a death so gruesome it feels straight out of a Japanese horror movie. Her corpse appears on the same map where Cream and Chocolate are, and the shocking part is that the entire family ended up as mush in the same place. But let's get to what really matters. Did Vanilla suffer before dying? If we look at her body, we notice something pretty horrifying. She doesn't have her feet or her head. That alone already sounds like a bad day, but there are details that make it even worse. Having your head ripped off in one swift motion can be quick and even painless, if you're lucky. But judging by Vanilla's expression, her death was far from instantaneous. In fact, her face shows a level of trauma and pain that is both intense and desperate. And here's the most unsettling part. Her feet were torn off before she died. I say this because of the sheer terror in Vanilla's eyes, meaning the poor thing had to watch as her feet were torn away. And that, my friends, doesn't kill you immediately. That means that, in her final moments, she had to crawl, bleeding out, try and escape, only to have her head ripped off and hung up like some kind of macabre decoration. Basically, her death was one of the worst ways to go. So yeah, Vanilla didn't just die brutally, she definitely suffered. How much? Well, on a scale from 1 to 10, she hit a solid 15. And this is just the beginning, my friends. Rouge, the most glamorous bat in the Sonic universe, finally got her own corpse in this update. And she sure went out in style, or at least in a very dramatic way. Here's my theory about her terrible fate. Rouge, obsessed with shiny gems, not for their power, just for how good they look in her collection, was probably exploring a location in search of a Chaos Emerald. As a good treasure hunter, she must have thought she was on some epic mission. What she didn't know was that she wasn't the only one interested in that place. At some point, Colossus, a not so friendly presence, was patiently awaiting for her, and when the time was right, bam! He pounced on her and strangled her while slowly ripping out her eyes. But it wasn't a simple, "you're dead, bye." No, this was on another level of cruelty. Even without her eyes, the pain was unbearable for poor Rouge. And if that wasn't enough, he launched her against the cave wall, smashing her skull and leaving a bloody stain on the rock. But the worst part? She was still alive, slowly bleeding out in agony. Now, the bite mark on her ear remains a mystery. Maybe it was Colossus, or maybe some scavenger creature took advantage of the situation. If you have a theory, drop it in the comments, or better yet, make up something terrifying. Knuckles. Knuckles, the guardian of the emeralds, the one who never lets anyone see his fear, until he ended up as a wall decor. Unlike other characters, his fate wasn't exactly classic. There was no quick fatal blow or a terrifying case. No, this one had creativity. Sonic.EXE could have done the same thing he did to Amy, but what we found suggests something much worse. Knuckles was discovered with his head completely separated from his body, nailed to a metal wall like some kind of trophy. So how did this happen? Well, here's my theory. Knuckles, overconfident in his fighting skills, probably tried to take on Sonic.EXE. It wouldn't be the first time he had rushed into a battle without thinking. He likely went straight for the fight, ready to prove that he doesn't need speed when he's got fists. Unfortunately, it seems Sonic.EXE not only had speed, but also knew exactly how to win. Before Knuckles could even react, he was already surrounded. Maybe he took a few warning blows, just enough to make him suffer a little. And then, when Sonic.EXE got bored of the game, he simply ripped his head off in one go. And what did he do next? Just leave the body lying around like some cliché villain? Nope. He decided to decorate the place, pinning Knuckles' head to the wall like a piece in a horror museum. Eggman. Now on to the death of the one and only Eggman. We already knew that Dr. Robotnik wasn't gonna make it out alive, but his corpse revealed that he was cut in half. And we're not talking about a clean cut. No, this was an execution done brutally. To understand what happened, we have to go back to an animation inspired by Sonic.EXE, where we see him suffering unimaginable pain before completely being torn apart. Imagine feeling every fiber of your body slowly ripping apart before dying. Doesn't sound pleasant, does it? That's why Eggman takes the title for the worst death in Sonic Disaster. He felt every second of the pain because he was still alive while being cut in half. And well, if you were expecting me to talk about cheese or chocolate, honestly their deaths were so insignificant that they're not even worth mentioning. They were taken out by checkpoints, which, let's be real, sounds downright ridiculous compared to the other deaths. With nothing more to add, I'll see you in the next video, and don't forget to drop a comment letting me know which death you think was the worst.